3 spine-chilling true stories of sinister endings. Exposed haunts that will leave you terrified. Lisa sat upright in bed, heart racing, as a bone-chilling scream echoed through the quiet streets of Maplewood. She pulled the covers tightly around her, her mind racing back to the stories she'd heard from neighbors about strange whispers, the echoing laughter of children that didn't seem to belong, and then the disappearance of families without a trace. Was this just another urban legend, or something far worse that lay hidden behind the suburban facade? With 2 young kids to protect, Lisa brushed the fear aside, determined to create a safe haven for Hannah and Max. But last night was not the first time she'd heard that scream. It gnawed at her raw and unrelenting. The day-to-day struggles of being a recently divorced mother already felt overwhelming, and the paranoia that seeped into her nights was like a slow poison. At dinner, she noticed how her kids suddenly fell silent, eyes wide, whispering amongst themselves. A chill brushed down her spine. "What's wrong?" she asked, a tightness in her throat. They exchanged glances before Hannah piped up. "Mom, Mr. Thompson waved at us today. He said we should visit him. He has something special to show." Lisa's skin prickled. That odd neighbor, always lurking behind the hedges, seemed to watch their every move. His pale, gaunt figure haunted her thoughts. Telling strange stories to the kids, she muttered under her breath. But deep down, unease clawed at her. The weeks went by, and those unexplainable noises, the rustling, scratching, and the unnerving feeling of eyes on her back had become a part of her nightly routine. Shadows danced in corners, disappearing the moment she turned her head, and still, the whispers grew louder. People in town exchanged glances, murmurs surfacing about old disappearances once buried in the past. Lisa squeezed her children's hands as she ignored the chilling stories, convinced they were just fairy tales spun to scare her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. One evening, she stumbled upon a box of old trinkets left under a loose floorboard. Reeking of mildew, the tokens bore names and initials of past residents. Each item sent a jolt of dread through her. The past never truly left. Then she saw that the neighborhood had a pattern. Families vanished, homes left cold and empty, waiting for new occupants. The thought of her children growing up in a haunted prison twisted her stomach. Mustering up her courage, she faced Mr. Thompson, the reclusive ogre of a man. Sweat dripped down her back as she stood at his door, threatening her resolve. He finally invited her in, the air thick with foreboding. "You shouldn't dig too deep," he whispered, a smirk lacing his lips. "Some secrets are meant to stay buried. You wouldn't want to wake the spirits, would you?" Lisa fought back panic. Was this just a game, a sick joke? Harmful intentions flickered in his eyes, binding her with fear. She wrestled with the idea of leaving Maplewood, but how could she uproot her children? And then shadows began moving at the edge of her sight again, creeping ever closer. Now, darkness cloaked her home. The unease morphed into terror. Was the house a sanctuary, or had it become a prison? As fear loomed in her heart, Lisa faced her greatest nightmare, her instincts screaming that she was outnumbered and outmatched, with dangers closing in. Would she find the courage to protect her children, or would she become just another story whispered among the town's secrets? The night was thick with dread, pushing her further into an abyss she never wanted to enter. Breathing heavily, Lisa stood frozen in place, left contemplating a sinister fate that awaited just beyond the door. Lisa could barely breathe as she stood in the doorway, heart thudding like a war drum in the suffocating silence. The night seemed to thicken around her, as if it were alive, pressing in with a palpable weight. Her instincts roared, demanding action, but her feet stayed glued to the floor. What should she do? The only sounds were her children's soft breaths from the living room, unaware of the horror she felt creeping over her. Maybe she should call someone. No, that might bring more attention to things they didn't understand. Just then, something scratched against the door frame, a sound so unsettling that it shattered the stillness like glass. Lisa whipped her head toward the noise. She sensed it before she saw it, a darkness, a living shadow sliding across the floor, moving with an intelligence that made her stomach churn. "Mum?" Hannah's voice from the other room broke through her paralysis. The innocence in her voice cut sharply against the growing dread. "Stay there!" Lisa shouted, her voice shaking. "Stay by Max. Don't move!" But in that instant of distraction, the shadow elongated itself, snaking into the hallway towards her. Gritting her teeth, she lunged forward, slamming the doors shut, heart racing faster than thought. "Mom, what is happening?" Max's little voice came more urgent, panic creeping into his tone. She gripped the doorknob, breathing heavily. "I don't know, honey. Just hold tight." Another scratch, this time more insistent. The door rattled as though something beyond wanted in. Lisa pressed her back against it, feeling the wood vibrate beneath her weight, eyes darting around their dimly lit house for any escape routes. Her mind raced to the stories of neighbors gone missing, and the panic began to swell again. They were real. The whispers flared back to life, surrounding her like a swarm of angry bees, disembodied voices intertwining. Let us play then. Just as quickly as they began, they faded into silence. But not before a crack appeared beneath the doorframe, just a hair's breadth. She could see it, something dark pulsed between the cracks, the heartbeat of whatever waited outside. Lisa, Mr. Thompson's voice floated through, low and menacing. "You shouldn't have toyed with things you don't understand. They don't take well to trespassers." Her blood ran cold. It was one thing to hear his warnings. It was another to feel the consequences creeping ever closer. Gripping her phone tightly, Lisa took a deep breath and dialed. It rang. And rang. Tremors of fear danced along her spine. No one would come. She was alone in this nightmare. "Hold on!" she yelled behind her, desperately trying to keep the kids from hearing her shaking voice. The doorknob rattled again, and with each jolt, her resolve teetered. Why hadn't they left sooner? Why hadn't she taken Mr. Thompson's words more seriously? Each scratch against the wood turned into a countdown, echoing her fight-or-flight instincts. Then, as if the house itself was mocking her, the lights flickered. The creaking began again, louder now, resonating through the walls. She felt it thrumming through her bones, a warning that she was running out of time. What do I do? The thought shot through her like a firearm blast. The shadows were drawing too close. She couldn't let them in. She couldn't let them in. The children's frightened whimpers vibrated through her mind like echoes in an empty chamber. The truth clawed at Lisa's throat. Something wanted her, wanted them. Without thinking, she turned and crashed through the living room towards the back door. But as she unlocked it, she heard a soft, chilling giggle. Just a warning, an invitation. Frozen, Lisa knew one thing. To survive, she had to confront the darkness. She had to find the source of those whispers. And as she opened the door, she realized this was just the beginning. What waited outside was darker than she could ever imagine. The air outside felt different, thicker, charged. As she stepped onto the porch, the night seemed to swallow her whole. A chill wrapped around her, creeping into her bones. She hesitated, heart racing, the world around her dynamically silent, as if holding its breath in anticipation. Behind her, soft cries from Max and Hannah pierced the dark like distant echoes of alarm, urging her back. But the door had closed, and she was now part of a sinister play, the stage set outside where shadows roamed freely. "Mom!" Hannah's voice strained against the silence, pulling her back momentarily. Lisa turned to the door, fear gnawing at her. She couldn't go back. Not now. Whatever waited inside was a different kind of hell, one she couldn't afford to return to. Closer, she noticed something lurking among the trees. Dark shapes moved, undulating against the faint moonlight, almost as if they were breathing, alive. She felt a pull, a dreadful magnetism that sent a cascade of dread through her. Each step felt heavier, as though the ground was trying to grasp her back, detaining her with every stride. What was out there? Suddenly, a small giggle echoed again from the shadows. This time, it was closer. A voice, sweet yet dripping with malice, beckoned her. Come play with us, Lisa? We've been waiting. Her gut twisted. She could almost see them children, specters molded from nightmares, faces half hidden in darkness, eyes glinting with predatory delight. They wanted her to join them in their cruel game. No, Lisa whispered, shaking her head. She took a step back, the urge to retreat battling with the pull of her curiosity. Those innocent-sounding voices wrapped around her, almost suffocating, tempting her to step deeper into the abyss. Join us. The voice called again. She forced her mind away from them. They weren't real. Not real. Or were they? The backyard was an expanse of swirling shadows, beckoning her closer. The patio lights flickered above, drowning her in luminescent blindness and momentary illumination. Shadows danced, as if keeping secrets from her. Suddenly, flashes of memories flooded her mind, horrific tales from neighbors, forgotten kids lost to the darkness, unheard cries fading into the abyss. She had to stand firm. She had to keep her children safe. But how? Taking a deep breath, Lisa turned towards the woods at the edge of the yard. The whispers intensified, swirling into a chaotic symphony that nearly drowned out her thoughts. Find us. Find us. A flash of light caught her eye. Was it an illusion? No, it was real, glimmering among the underbrush. A small, tremulous flicker, like candlelight pushing through darkness, promising safety. Against her better judgment, Lisa crept closer, curiosity driving her onward. The flicker pulsed, revealing a small path, and with it, a sense of eerie intrigue tangled with apprehension. It felt like an invitation, a strange lure that whispered her name with urgency. Mom! It was Max again, desperate, pulling her back. Stay there! She shouted, her voice unnaturally loud in the oppressive quiet. She felt a tug at her heart, the weight of the children's safety resting heavy on her shoulders even as the mysterious glow pulled her like a moth to a flame. What was it? Hope? Or a trap? In that instant, she swore she saw a figure, disheveled hair, gaunt, with a wicked grin peering from behind a tree. Lisa froze, paralyzed by a frozen sense of dread. Did they want her to follow? Her heart thundered as the glow began to fade, tempting her to decide quickly, move forward and discover the truth, or return, risking the darkness behind her. But the whispers grew louder, insistent. Now the end is just the beginning, and as the last glimmer of light sputtered out, a chilling realization settled over her. The game had only just begun. The darkness tightened its grip around Lisa as the last flicker of light vanished, leaving her immersed in a silence that echoed loudly. Shadows stretched and contorted, transforming her familiar backyard into a morbid labyrinth. She took a breath, but the air felt stale, heavy with unnameable dread. Stay there! She had yelled. But her children's cries were fading into background noise, muffled and distant as if filtered through water. A primal instinct whispered for her to run back, to bundle them into her arms and barricade themselves inside. Yet the pull of the unknown drew her further away from safety. Moving cautiously toward the trees, Lisa's heart raced violently against her ribcage, each beat laced with fear and uncertainty. She strained to hear the whispers that had turned into a cacophony, beckoning her to step deeper into the unknown. Join us! They sang, each word a dagger twisting in her gut. Before her lay the darkened path, now more defined. Roots snaked across the ground like tendrils reaching up from the earth, demanding to be noticed. She hesitated. The woods almost seemed to breathe with life, as if a collective consciousness lurked just beyond her line of sight, waiting for her to trespass. And then she heard it, laughter. Low, bubbling, infectious, yet it sent chills racing down her spine. A laugh that felt more like a trap, deceivingly joyous. She felt like prey caught between instinct and madness. Mom! Max's voice rang clearer, forcing her back to reality. They depended on her. But could she drag them back inside and escape whatever this was, whatever it wanted? A wave of allure swept over her. In her peripheral vision, 2 or 3 shapes flitted between trees, their movements both quick and ethereal. Fear clawed deeper, yet a small ember of curiosity ignited. Could these shadows be the children of the stories? Lost souls, trapped and tormented? Before she could mentally wrestle her thoughts into coherence, something surged forward, a burst of wind, a strange vibration in the air. The trees quaked slightly, and then, just beyond the dense foliage, she caught a glimpse of something flickering again. Bright as a star and dangerously inviting. "Come play," the voice was melodic, carnal. We'll show you everything." It wrapped around her, pulling harder than before. Lisa took a step back, her body reacting to the primal fear clawing its way into her mind. She knew she should turn and run, back into the house, protect her children. But the shadows danced again, beckoning her with a shimmer that beckoned curiosity mixed with terror. Then she stumbled something beneath her foot. A small doll lay in shards, a porcelain face cracked with age and despair, eyes wide open staring into the nothingness. Next to the doll, scattered feathers trailed away into the woods, all leading toward the flickering light. "Help us!" the children's voices wept through the trees, growing more desperate, a haunting chorus that ground at her sanity. Suddenly she wasn't standing alone. Anna, a translucent figure, gashed and ghostly, stood in the path. The child's grin was a cruel twist of innocence, an echo of joy erased from existence. "Find us, Lisa. You have to find us." Lisa's breath hitched, panic swelling within her. They were real. This was far too real. "But if you stay you'll never leave," Anna said, her tone chillingly sweet. Lisa's instincts erupted into panic. The very shadows she had thought she could tame now morphed into a nightmarish battleground of ethereal promises and disguised horrors. Just as Lisa turned to flee, a deafening roar of whispers swelled, punctuated by the laughter that echoed through the branches. Her resolve shook, and the path blurred before her. Would she be claimed by the dark, or could she still save her children from this malevolent game? "Mom!" Max shouted again, a quaking tremor in his voice. Desperation mixed with fear and love drawing her back into their world or pushing her deeper toward this twisted reality. Which would it be? The air thickened, and as Lisa tore her gaze from the spectral child, she felt the grip of something unseen curling around her. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. And just like that, she had to decide, would she save her children from the dark or succumb to it herself? Lisa's heart pounded in her ears as the shadows stretched and slithered closer. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a storm, a cacophony that threatened to pull her into its depths. "Mom!" Max's voice called again, but it was a mere echo, a flicker of hope swallowed by the consuming darkness. "Anna!" she shouted, desperately grasping for the spectral child. "Where are they?" Her voice cracked, fragmented like shattered glass. The laughter intensified, mocking her. She could almost see the figures now, flitting just out of reach, lilting and taunting. "Let us play!" they chimed, a sinister melody wrapped in childlike glee. Lisa shook her head, sweat beading on her brow, her instincts screaming for her to run. Yet her feet felt rooted to the spot, as if the earth had become a part of the web of shadows, ensnaring her deeper into its grip. "Help us!" the children still cried, their voices laced with agony, each plea twisting like a knife in her gut. Lisa clenched her fists, trying to push back the overwhelming fear that flooded her senses. But with each pulse of her heartbeat, the shadows seemed to pulse, too, alive, sentient, and hungry. Then, amidst the boisterous whispers, she heard a low growl rumbling from the very thicket of darkness. A deeper sound that vibrated through the ground, a warning that something far more sinister lurked just beyond her vision. She felt it, an ancient malice that resonated with her deepest fears. The fabric of safety was peeling away, layer by layer, and revealed beneath was pure terror. "Run!" a voice blared from her gut, and suddenly her hands were moving, clutching the air, ready to make a break for it. With a fierce determination, Lisa pivoted, but the path had morphed. Tree trunks twisted, roots rose like serpents to block her way, closing in, trapping her. Fighting a rising tide of panic, she forced herself to find the familiar, focusing on her children. "Get to them! Just get to them!" she muttered under her breath, heart racing. But Anna blocked her way now, eyes wide and glistening with shadows themselves. "You can't leave. You have to choose. The child's grin widened, stretching her pale features beyond comfort, a grotesque caricature of a beloved daughter. In that moment, Lisa felt the chill of dread gripping her spine. They weren't just lost, this was something far more diabolical than she had imagined. The darkness seemed alive, always one step ahead, and she was ensnared by an invisible force that didn't care about her motherly love. Mom! Please! Max's voice broke through the chaos, bringing with it a torrent of memories, warm hugs, laughter, bedtime stories. She was a fortress for them, a tireless protector against all that was bleak. Yet, as dread washed over her, it felt as if that fortress was crumbling to dust. Don't leave us, Mom! Max's cry shattered her hesitation, pushing her forward. Lisa lunged toward the flickering light, head pulsing with urgency, determined to reel back those precious, innocent laughter echoes before they disappeared forever. But something reached for her, a cold hand brushed against her neck, fingers like ice. She spun, breath hitching in her throat, and was met with swirling shadows. They twisted into faces hollow and sinister, reflecting her fears, her failures. Stay, they hissed, voices intertwining into a maddening chorus that echoed in her skull. Join us. The flickering light dwindled, dimming with every heartbeat. The hunt for her children turned into a battle for her sanity. Lisa's breath caught, pounding against the weight of the darkness closing in, and just as despair threatened to drown her, a faint light pierced through the oppressive gloom. The door of her home shone just beyond the branches, a beacon of hope against the swirling shadows. Could she reach it? Could she escape this waking nightmare? The childlike laughter morphed into a symphony of wails, clawing at her spirit. Choose, Lisa, choose. With one bold step, Lisa launched herself toward the glimmering hope, but the shadows lunged forward, fierce and relentless. They tangled around her legs, pulling her back into their abyss. What would happen if she let them take her? Was this the only way to save her children? Just as the darkness swallowed her whole, she felt something brush against her hand, a small, warm grip amidst the cold. Mom! It called gently, a familiar voice woven through the chaos, pulling her back. Could she hold on? As a blinding light erupted in the shadows, the world swirled around her. Reality fractured, and all she could do was scream as she was pulled deeper into the unknown. What awaited her on the other side of the dark? What secrets lurked in the depths of the shadows? The light engulfed her, a blinding flash that stole her breath and consciousness. For a brief, harrowing second, Lisa felt suspended in time, either here nor there, just weightless in a void. Then, it shattered, and she was cast back into a world that was both familiar and unrecognizable. She stumbled onto her front porch, heart racing, hands shaking. The warmth had returned, but the shadows lingered just beyond the threshold, writhing like angry serpents. Had she escaped? Or had she only exchanged one nightmare for another? Mom! Max's voice echoed closer now. The urgency clawed at her chest, a beacon in the stifling haze of her fears. There he was, standing wide-eyed at the foot of the porch steps. Behind him, a whisper of movement caught her attention, a shadow darting under the trees. A figure. Max! She cried, lunging forward, but something stopped her. An overwhelming sense of dread tugged at her heart. It wasn't just darkness that lingered, it was something far more intimate. Mom! You have to come with me. His voice froze the blood in her veins. Where's Anna? Panic pierced through her like a dagger. Max's face dropped, shadows flickering across his features. I can't find her. The shadows danced closer, igniting an unsettling rhythm. Lisa glanced back at her home, the door still open, inviting yet ominous. Memories tugged at her, whispers of laughter, sweet dreams gone horribly wrong. Stay by my side, she commanded, pushing aside the fear creeping into her heart. We'll find her together. The storm of shadows swirled, thoughts racing. What had she stepped into? A world where light struggled to exist? They began moving toward the tree line, the air thickening with tension. The deeper they walked, the more shadows seemed to cling to them, examining, waiting. A distant wail echoed through the woods, chilling her blood. It sounded like Anna, but there were no guarantees. "Keep going," she breathed, leading Max forward. Suddenly, he stopped, trembling. "Mom! I can't! Something's pulling me back." Lisa turned to see his feet planted, shadows curling around his ankles. "No! Let him go!" She reached out, desperation clawing at her throat. "Help me!" Max shrieked, his voice sending shivers up her spine. "Stay close. I'm right here," she yelled, tugging at him, but the shadows were relentless. They climbed his legs, drawing him into the depths of dread. Lisa's thoughts flared. What were the shadows? What did they want? Her strength waned with every second he fought against the uncanny pull. She felt it too now, a weight on her chest, gnawing at her will. "Mom! Please!" Tears streamed down his cheeks, despair etched into his features. "Don't you let go! Fight it!" The voices, those haunting whispers, were growing louder, stitching together a horrific symphony of anguish. Max's eyes widened, filled with something Lisa couldn't bear to acknowledge, fear or resignation. Then, with a bone-chilling roar, something emerged from the shadows beyond, a massive figure, undefined, cloaked in the darkness of nightmares. It howled, a wretched sound that seemed to split the air and freeze time. Lisa's heart raced, terror paralyzing her. "Max! Run!" But her command was lost in the chaos, swept away like leaves in a storm. As the figure lunged, shadows enveloped them, swallowing Max's scream and pulling him into the dark abyss. "Max!" she cried, hands thrust forward as she felt the ground beneath her tremble. "Mom!" His voice faded, merged with the sinister laughter that erupted from the shadows. It echoed around her, taunting, victorious. Lisa stood at the edge of a horror she could barely understand, fingers trembling, breath hitching in her throat. The shadows rolled back, revealing a path that twisted towards a darkness deeper than she had ever known. Where was Max now? What had she unleashed? Would she find Anna? Would the shadows ever let them go? A promise of dread loomed in her mind, pounding fiercely against her ears. As she walked further into the murky depths, she couldn't shake the feeling something was waiting, something ancient and hungering. Could she face the truth about the shadows? What lay ahead may be worse than she ever imagined. The night pressed in like a vice, suffocating all hope. Lisa's heart pounded, each thump a frantic reminder of her lost son. She took a trembling step forward, breath hitching as she peered into the dense shadows. What had happened to Max? The thought gnawed at her, the shadows conspiring behind her back. "Max!" Her voice cracked, fear uncoiling like a serpent in her stomach. She needed to keep moving, had to find out what lay ahead. Was there a way to get him back? The woods whispered, a cacophony of murmurings rising and falling like a tide. Each whisper seemed tainted, fragments of anguished memories swirling, threatening to drown her. The shadows twisted, flickering at the edge of her vision, teasing her with glimpses of movement. "Come home, Lisa," they seemed to hiss. A chilled wind whispered through the branches, and she pressed her hands to her ears to drown out the voices. She stumbled forward, every branch creaked ominously, roots sprawled across the ground like gnarled fingers reaching out for her. "Anna! Where are you?" she shouted, her voice tinged with desperation. But the only answer was silence, heavy and thick, suffocating her spirit. The air changed violently, a wave of cold crashing into her. Shadows coiled tightly around her ankles, every tendril feeling like barbed wire slicing through flesh, intent on pulling her down. She swung her legs, willing herself to break free. But they were becoming heavier, a weight sown from dread. "Max!" The scream erupted from her, echoing through the suffocating silence. And then, she felt it, an overwhelming, pulsating energy radiating from deeper within the forest. A place where the shadows coalesced, where things whispered to one another like intimate conspirators. Lisa felt drawn to it, a sick, undeniable craving curling inside her, entwining itself with her heart. She pushed herself onward, each step becoming a silent pact with the shadows. As she stepped into the clearing, it revealed itself a gnarled tree, twisted and ancient, its bark like a face twisted in agony. Beneath it, something glimmered. Sweat beaded on her brow as she approached. What was it? Digging cautiously through the dirt at its roots, she unearthed a small object, slick and warm in her grasp. It was a locket, pressed into the ground like a secret. Her pulse raced. It felt familiar, a blend of dread and recognition. Heart pounding, she clicked it open. A photograph stared back at her. Anna, her daughter, smiling, bright and carefree. But next to Anna, a dark figure flickered, half hidden in the shadows, its eyes glowing with malevolence. Lisa felt her throat constrict. It was there, hiding in plain sight. Anna! Her voice trembled as cold fear washed over her. Panic constricted her chest. The shadow behind her daughter, the figure, was familiar. It followed her even in memory. Panic swelled inside, and she begged the air to give her answers, but only the shadows laughed in a chilling chorus. With every heartbeat, dark tendrils crawled closer, whispering promises of despair. Something heavy shifted in her chest as memories collided. Had she lost Max to this very darkness? Anger ignited, burning through her fear. I will find you! She screamed into the abyss, the dark energy resonating through her, and just as quickly, everything changed. The shadows rippled like liquid, a vortex forming around her. She could feel it swallowing her, pulling her closer to something sinister, yet familiar. Help us, echoed softly, a voice bending through the air. Help us, came another, closer now, a desperate cry that sounded just like Max's. Lisa gasped, resolve hardening in her racing heart. No! She surged forward, determination battling against inevitable despair. But as she ran, she felt it, an icy claw wrapped around her ankle. Looking back, the gnarled tree twisted further, roots reaching aggressively, dragging her back into the darkness. The shadows will claim you, the whispers taunted, dragging her down as she struggled desperately, her breath quickening, fading into a chaotic panic. With her final stand, she narrowed her eyes against the pull, searching for a glimpse of light, of hope. Stay with me, Max! She shouted. And just like that, she was plunged into a black void, caught between knowing and fearing the truth. But what lay beneath the darkness? What terrifying secrets would she uncover, and who would survive the truth at the heart of the shadows? The void was a heavy cloak, smothering Lisa as she flailed against the unseen force. Choking darkness surrounded her, thick like fog, and every breath she gasped tasted metallic like iron, like blood. Panic clawed at her throat. Max! She cried again, but only silence met her, chilling and oppressive. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Shadows writhed around her, twisting and curling like snakes, whispering her name. Lisa! They taunted, their voices slithering into her ears, drawing closer. Each syllable dripped with a sinister mirth that sent shivers racing down her spine. Stay away from me! She shouted, her voice trembling, fighting against the dark tide. But the shadows persisted, surging forward, pulsating with an unnatural energy. They pressed against her, suffocating, invading her thoughts. Let go of her! A voice cut through, sharp and desperate. It was familiar yet warped, like a reflection in shattered glass. The shadows recoiled momentarily, hissing like venomous snakes, and Lisa's heart surged with a flicker of hope. Anna! Is that you? She cried out, reaching into the darkness, desperate to connect. Mom! Anna's voice echoed, but it was laced with urgency and impending despair. Where are you? I can't see you! Lisa shouted, her voice breaking. Mom, you have to fight! The shadows, they want you! Anna's voice trembled, fading in and out like a radio malfunctioning. As the shadows pressed harder, Lisa's resolve hardened. She would not let them take her, not while the faint glimmer of Anna's voice remained. She focused, recalling the warmth of her daughter, the innocent joy of her laughter. Get off me! Lisa screamed, her words morphing into sound waves that sliced through the thick gloom. With an angry surge, she ripped one foot free, then another, thrashing as she kicked against the tendrils that threatened to claim her. The shadows writhed and hissed, but she was rising. As she fought her way up, she felt something shift within. A barrier broke, and a surge of light replaced the suffocating blackness and unbearable brightness that launched her backward. With a deafening crack, she tumbled out of the void and onto the forest floor, gasping. The world around her sprang into reality, but she was not alone. Figures loomed in the encroaching shadows, watching her, their eyes glinting with a terrible hunger. Lisa froze, horror crashing over her like a wave. How many were there? She felt the familiar ache of dread swell within her as they stepped closer, slowly, deliberately. Max! Anna! Her cries erupted, drowning in fear. The shadows hissed around her, ready to converge. I told you, said one of the figures, his voice like gravel being ground underfoot. You shouldn't have come here. The shadows twisted, revealing faces she half remembered, lost souls mingled with the living, memories bubbling to the surface. Each one bore the pain of unspeakable loss, a grave reminder of the past. No! Lisa screamed, backpedaling, her heart racing with the terror of betrayal. These were not just shadows, they were victims. Victims of the very darkness she had been drawn into. Join us, another figure urged, extending a pale hand, fingers elongated and twisted. It doesn't have to be this way, heart pounding, Lisa scrambled back. What did they mean? It was then she caught glimpses of familiar faces amongst the shadows, lost friends, neighbors, the sound of their whispered fears intertwining with her own. Fight it! She screamed, desperate for clarity. Fight against this. But as she shouted, a cold realization sank in. The shadows were more than just a nightmare. They were a reflection of the heart, a manifestation of her own loss, her regrets, and her guilt. With each face, a flicker of memory surged, how she failed to protect Max, how Anna was now lost. Mama, gentle voice echoed again, soft yet distant. Help us, please, no! She cried, tears streaming as she shook her head, desperate to deny the truth. Suddenly, a shift in the atmosphere, like the crack of thunder. The shadows began to dissolve, their grip faltering. But not without one last promise echoing in her mind, chilling her to the core. You can't escape your truth, Lisa. Lisa's heart raced. Had she emerged from the depths only to face a greater horror? As shadows thinned, a new path emerged, a dark labyrinth stretching far ahead of her, filled with twisted memories and heartache. Where are you? She whispered into the void, fear curling around her heart. What awaited her at the end? Would salvation be her reward, or simply a deeper plunge into her nightmare? With each step she took, doubts began to braid themselves into her thoughts. Something terrible lurked ahead, something waiting to claim her yet again. And as she ventured deeper into the darkness, one chilling thought echoed in the stillness. Was she truly ready to confront the ghosts of her past? The silence swallowed her, wrapping around Lisa like a shroud. Her heart thundered in her chest, each pulse a reminder of the danger lurking in the shadows. The labyrinth ahead twisted and turned, each corner promising new horrors to confront. Max, Anna, she called into the void again, her voice trembling but filled with fierce determination. She refused to let despair cling to her like a shadow. But the silence that answered was deafening, amplifying her fear. Worn memories flickered like distant fireflies within her mind. The faces that had appeared before, the stories they carried, haunted her thoughts. Each step pulled her deeper into the thicket of guilt. What do they want from me? She whispered, her breath hitching with each passing moment. As she pressed on, the air grew thick, suffocating. A low murmur echoed behind her, cascading like waves closing in. Lisa spun around, the edge of dread creeping into her bones. A collection of figures emerged from the swirling shadows, their movements making her skin crawl. They reached for her, eyes glowing with a mix of sorrow and menace. Help us, they chorused, their voices like brittle leaves rustling over a grave. You know what you have to do. Get away! She cried, stepping back, dread clawing at her throat. The path twisted further, spiraling into an abyss of confusion. She stumbled, fingers brushing against a rough wall that felt alive, pulsating under her touch. A sharp jab of pain shot through her hand as a burst of jagged rock pressed into her skin. She yanked it back, staring wide-eyed at the crimson streak painting her palm. No, I can't bleed for you, Lisa gasped, her heart racing. The figures moved closer, their faces transforming into macabre visages twisted with anguish. Face your truth, Lisa. A voice broke through, clear amongst the cacophony of whispers. It was Anna's voice, stronger, more present. Face it. You can't hide from it anymore. The shadows recoiled momentarily, drawn backward from the weight of her daughter's knowing plea. Lisa steadied herself. Was this the moment when she would confront her failures? The labyrinth shifted, walls pulsating, shadows shrinking as she took a step forward. I can't lose you. I want to lose you, she cried, rallying her emotions, using them as fuel to fight against the darkness. Do it, Anna urged from the edges of the shadows, her voice imbued with both fear and determination. You have to let go. With gritted teeth, Lisa forced herself to remember. The laughter shared with Max, the soft touches and whispers with Anna. Every hug, every moment of warmth flooded her with strength. Enough! Lisa screamed with all her might, the sound exploding like thunder through the darkness. The shadows writhed, twisting with anger, and suddenly, faces she loved appeared unmasked and radiant. You're not my guilt, she asserted, eyes blazing. You are my memories, my love! With that declaration, light exploded from within her, bursting like a supernova, scattering the suffocating darkness. The figures hesitated, morphing back into the anguish of their past. She could feel their sorrow morphing into tangible threads weaving through the air, but she stood firm, unyielding. She stepped forward, surrounded by the glowing warmth of her memories, urging the shadows back. I choose to remember the good. I will not be chained to the past. But as she pressed on, she felt a tugging at her heart, a dark tendril latching onto her essence. It whispered through the air, weaving despair as it coiled tighter. Face us, Lisa, it hissed, a familiar anguish slipping through. What if we are all that remains? A piercing dread coursed through her. She could feel the weight of every regret, every moment she thought she had lost. Would she be strong enough to sever the bond? Would her choice to battle lead her to salvation or doom? As the light flickered, she knew she was standing at the precipice of a choice that would change everything. One last step, would she fall or rise? The shadows readied for one final push, their cries reaching a fever pitch. They were not ready to let her go. Could she break free once more? And as the air thickened with tension, one terrifying thought took root. Was her next reply the end of an escape, or the dawning of her ultimate nightmare? Breathless and trembling, Lisa stood at the edge of a choice that swirled like a storm around her. The shadows twisted and warped, clamoring for her surrender, but she gripped onto her memories like a lifeline. Each shining moment of laughter, every soft touch between her and her children surged within her, illuminating the dark abyss that threatened to consume her whole. I choose love, she screamed, the declaration echoing through the oppressive haze. I choose life over your darkness. With every fiber of her being, she pushed forward, forcing the light within her to expand. It pulsated, a beacon against the chaos enveloping her. The shadows writhed, howling in protest, their forms shifting into grotesque expressions of fear and rage. You can't escape us, Lisa! They shrieked, desperation clawing at their voices, but she pressed on relentlessly. You will always remember the darkness. No! She roared, the sound reverberating like a battle cry. I refuse to be your prisoner anymore. As she advanced, every heartbeat sounded like the beating of a war drum, marking her progress toward liberation. Suddenly, one of the figures lunged forward. A familiar face appeared, a shadowy version of Mr. Thompson. You're one of them! She shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You want to control my life. Recognizing him as a manifestation of her own fears and doubts, she steeled herself. With a surge of determination, she took another step, the pulsating light enveloping her like wings spreading from a heavy burden. She could feel the warmth beckoning her. Hope radiated within her soul. I choose to remember the beauty. One by one, the shadows began to dissipate, unraveling like threads pulled from a fraying tapestry, their shapes twisting back into the ether. For every ounce of darkness she faced, a new flicker of light ignited around her, opening the path to salvation. Mom! Anna's voice rang out clearer now, drawing Lisa's focus through the swirling shadows. You have to find us. The urgency in Anna's voice anchored her resolve, a reminder that they were intertwined, love immeasurable even in separation. Hold on to who we are. In a final burst of courage, Lisa pushed past the last barrier of darkness, barreling toward the light culminating in a blinding radiance ahead. I will find you! She shouted, her voice fierce, and suddenly, the world around her shattered like glass. Lisa collapsed onto the grass, gasping. Light brightened her surroundings, glistening with the dawn. The shadows melted away, swallowed by the oncoming day. She blinked, disoriented, but amidst the brightness, she didn't see just the solitude she expected. Max! Anna! She shouted, eyes darting frantically. Panic surged within her as the sun spilled over them, warm and vibrant. Mom! Hannah's voice broke through the quiet, and Lisa spun to see her children emerging from between the trees, shadows receding behind them, relief flooding her heart. They rushed toward her, their laughter illuminating the dawn. Thank God, you're here! Lisa knelt, pulling them into her arms, trembling with relief as they wrapped around her, solid and real. Each heartbeat sang with unease now smothered under the weight of togetherness. They felt alive, braided in safety and warmth. What happened, Mom? Max asked, eyes wide with concern but curled in the safety of her embrace. I fought the darkness, she whispered, wiping the tears streaming down her cheeks. But we're free now. We're safe. As they embraced tighter, the light around them grew stronger, pulses of warmth radiating through the air, the colors brighter than ever. For the first time in a long while, hope ignited in her heart. Let us go home, she said softly, pulling away to look into their eyes, knowing she'd protect this moment at all costs. The nightmares could linger far behind. She had weathered the storm, and together they would create the light of a future brighter than darkness. Hand in hand, they stepped toward their home, leaving the echoes of the night behind. With every step, the shadows retracted, fading into whispers as the sun climbed across the sky, promising a new dawn or rebirth free from the chains of the past. But as they walked away, Lisa couldn't shake the underlying knowing, darkness never truly disappears. It lurks, shadows waiting quietly for a moment of weakness. They would always have to be vigilant, but for now, they were home, and they were together. If you've enjoyed this haunting tale of bravery and redemption, you need to subscribe now and don't miss the next exclusive story that could leave you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep these thrilling tales coming your way. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Lisa's journey. I can't wait to hear what you think, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this spine-chilling conclusion. Support the channel and uncover intertwining tales of darkness and light.